All right, the time is 4:30 and we will start the PUD Board of Commissioners meeting for April 22nd. And we'll use the flag here on my right. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you. Be looking for a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 4.
I second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's roll into first quarter financials.
We did a test drive this afternoon and this will all work. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the first quarter financials. This is just a summary and overview of what we'll be discussing in more detail. You can see the revenue and expenses up there. And the thing I want to point out is that revenue and expenses is year-over-year comparison. So we'll go into some of the reasons and changes that are impacting the first quarter compared to last year. And then we'll also talk about the bottom line and the impacts overall, and also compare it to the budget. So we'll start with the $24.3 million that we currently have in reserve. All of those reserves are either at Banner Bank or with the state investment pool. We have about $14.5 million of general fund revenue in reserves. And then we have system development for board approved projects of about $7.2 million. And then debt service, we accrue that every month to make the monthly payments for a debt service, and the next payment will be in June. So we have about $2.6 million or 11% of our reserves in the debt service fund right now. As I mentioned, we invest that with the state. We have about $23.6 million invested at the state right now at the end of March. It paid about 4.4% interest rate or return on investment, and we earn about $88,000 per month this year on those reserves. This graph shows you from January of last year, the rates have been flat, and the LGIP is the blue line at the top. And then it compares it, the benchmark is the 2-year treasury, and then I have a 3-month rolling average there. So as the rates go, the LGIP is short-term investments by the state, and it follows closely to the 2-year treasury. It's much flatter than I expected. Everybody expected rates to go down, and then with the recent economic uncertainty, rates are now back up a little bit, so we'll see where they go in the future. Consumption comparison for the last 4 years, for the first 3 months, I should say. This is a little bit interesting. You can see we have 2025, 24, 23, and 22 up here by month. And so the first January last year and this year, we are below the prior 2 years. And then last year, you see quite an increase in February and March that we attribute to the cold snap that we had at the beginning of a year ago. People left their water on to keep their pipes from freezing, and some broken pipes. So consumption was much higher last year compared to this year and the 2 prior years. So for the first quarter, we're down 10% on the consumption from last year, but you can see over a 4-year trend, we're trending pretty close to the other 2 years in that 4-year average. So we'll continue to monitor that. On the revenue comparison, again, for the same time period, you see the last 4 years by month, and you can see that consumption and how it tracks. We're right on in January. We're still above the prior 3 years. And then in February, we're comparable to last year. And then finally in March, where you'll see it, we drop off, but we're still ahead of the prior 2 years and also for the quarter. So what does it look like in dollars? in dollars, we ended up only $1,648 more this year than last year. Overall, that's that number there for water sales. Very close then for the first 3 months. You can see a small decrease in residential up at the top and also in resale. This is a very small number, but a bigger drop, 9%. But the thing I want to point out here is on the budget to actual side. So when we adjust for seasonality, we're ahead in every category. So even though compared to last year, we're flat on dollars, we're about 7% ahead of where the budget was for that time period. So traditionally, these are 3 lowest months of the year. And so we'll continue to watch that as we go forward. Operating expenses up 9% overall. That's the bottom line here. The biggest contributor to that is salaries and wages. Trying to get this. That's up 15%. And there's a number of reasons that salary and wages are higher for the first quarter. So the first thing is the year end, timing of the year end, how many pay periods between January 1st and the holidays, and what we accrue into 24 and then also into 25. We did have a COLA increase. Our benefits did go up substantially in 25 over 24 for health benefits. And then we also have one added position at the water treatment plant, which was added last August. So for the first quarter comparison this year, we're fully staffed with that extra position compared to last January, February, March, where they weren't hired yet in the water treatment plant. The next 2 categories are water treatment plant, water, power, and chemicals. It's up 20% over last year. Again, this is highly dependent upon the delivery of the chemicals. We've had a couple big deliveries of chemicals up there, so that'll trend down. It's only about 74% of the budget, so we're well under budget. Repairs, maintenance, and fleet also is dependent upon the projects and the maintenance projects that we're working on. We did take delivery of 1 vehicle early this year, so that's contributing to that a little bit too in the fleet costs. Tech and SCADA projects is down 42%, and professional services. These are mostly dependent upon the projects that we have ongoing, when the SCADA parts come in, when we can hire the contractors. So this will continue to go up throughout the rest of the year as we're able to schedule and do those projects. We're at 83% of budget, but compared to last year, we're down 42%. And then the only other one I'll push out here is utility taxes and other taxes. We pay all of our property tax, the dike levies up front, so that's been paid in this time period. So this should revert back to the budget throughout the rest of the year. And then construction in progress. So these are the construction expenses that we can capitalize. It's labor, usually the engineering department and maintenance departments and a few other people that we can capitalize their salaries and wages to capital projects. This is down slightly. I'll talk more about the capital project for the first quarter in a minute, but it's down, so we've capitalized less of those costs, and that's another contributing factor for salary and wages being higher a little bit for the first quarter. Capital contributions are another good revenue source. They consist of 4 elements. Work orders are performed by our staff or others that we're paid for. Donated plant or developer projects that are built and developed and then turned over to the PUD to be maintained. And then system development fees are the paid for new services and hookups. And then service fees are also paid for those new services. And you can see we budget about $500,000 a quarter on all 3 of these, or all 4 of these items, sorry. System developments were trending pretty well to the budget. And then the biggest decrease is here on donated plants. So last year we had 1 large developer project. It was about $500,000, which makes up most of that number there. So overall, we're a little bit behind on the budget, but these are highly variable depending on when development happens, and we're going into a busier construction time of year, so that should pick up. Summary, we're down slightly in overall revenue, 8.4 million versus 8.7 million. That's mostly interest earnings from last year, where we had a higher interest rate and also more reserves. This will continue down as we spend our reserves on our capital improvements. Operating expenses are up about 9% so far. Capital expenses, this is what I mentioned earlier. Last year, we had this building construction going on. That was about $1 million a month. So in the first quarter of last year, we had $4.5 million. We've done about $1.4 million this first quarter. But again, we've got a number of projects, one being awarded tonight and other projects in the works, so this will pick up. But last year we had $29 million budgeted and we did about 27 million. This year we're only budgeting $15 million of capital, so it's going to be a lot less than we did last year. Debt service remains the same. And then we've got a positive net income here of $860,000 so far. And then the reserves, as I mentioned, is $24 million. We'll just quickly talk about our debt service. As I mentioned, there's no change other than the rates have gone down slightly. So a lot of our public works trust fund loans that we took out for the transmission line had a completion clause in them. If we adhered to the completion of those projects, they took off 0.5 point on the interest rate. So you see that all of our debt service is at 2.65% or below. Our bonds are actually those at 2.65. All of the other loans that we have are below that, and they're all fixed, which is important. So our $63 million of total debt is paid off in $4.7 million of principal and interest per year. And you can see that we've layered that on. And it's pretty constant all the way out to about here, 2031, where it drops down slightly, but we got to get way out here. So we took on a lot of debt to do the transmission line project, and then to build this project and the other capital projects along with that time period. It's manageable. It's a good amount of debt, I'll say it that way. And so we continue to monitor that, but we were very fortunate. We got all that debt before interest rates went up, and we fixed the rate also as part of that with the bonds. So that's good. Any questions?
Nope, none for me.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
All right. It's great to be the first presentation. I'll just say that it's good to be in the building. We made it. And finance is very happy to be co-located with customer service. We've been looking forward to that. So we're all in one area now, and the customers are finding their way back here slowly. It's going to be a good spot.
Good.
So thank you.
Well, it's fitting that we led with finance, and well done. You set a high mark here for the presenter, so thank you. All right, we would invite any audience comments. And if you're online in Zoom, you could use the raise your hand function. Seeing none in the room and none online, we will move on to some general manager report.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just tack on to what Brian was saying. So if you allow me, I'll talk about the building for a little bit. Yeah, today is a big day. It's our first meeting in our new admin building. And we've been reminiscing a lot about the building since we moved in last Friday. We've only been here a couple of days, actually. The movers moved a lot of the boxes and different things over on Thursday, and then staff came in on Friday to start unpacking. So a lot of time and effort went into the completion of this building, and there's many, many people that were involved in it, directly and indirectly. Just about everybody that works here has had a hand in it, either the planning, design, construction, setup, troubleshooting, so many things. But I do want to single out a few people that had a big involvement in this, because I think it's worth mentioning. The first project manager for the building project was Sam Shep. He's not here any longer, but he did get the ball rolling. He had a lot of effort working with the city of Mount Vernon and getting the design done with our architect. And then after that, Mike Benton, who's here today, became the project manager, and he moved the building into the construction phase. A lot of work went into that. And Mike was a team with Michelle Peters, They lived in our job shack here for a long time and really kept an eye on the building and its progress. And they did a lot of work and spent a lot of time here. And over all those people was Mark Hanslick. He, directed and shepherded the building project, the architect, all the contracts, all the different things. So that team, the engineering team that worked on this project, deserves a lot of credit for getting us here. It's been 6 years in the making, actually, in getting us here. Went back and looked at the little bit of history, and I think it's just worth talking about that we first hired a consultant in 2019 to look at analyze new sites throughout the county. We looked at the port, we looked in Cedar Woolley, we looked in South Mount Vernon, and ultimately we ended up back in this building because of its location and the fact that we were already here and a lot of the utilities were already here. So that was great. That started in 19, and then that's also the time we hired Driftmeyer Architects to start on the condition assessment of the existing building and then start on working on this building. The real estate consultant and the condition assessment on the other building took about a year. So it wasn't until 2020 that we decided to move forward with building on this site. And we went through a few design iterations, different locations of this building on the site. But in 21 and 22 is when we pushed through the design, and then August 23 is when we broke ground for construction. So it's been, about 18 months of construction to get to this point. And, you can look back, as all things are when they're difficult, as you're doing them, they seem like a challenge and there's always issues and problems. And, but I think looking back on this, we all look at the process as successful. And, everybody pitched in and did a lot of work, and everybody that goes through the building now, even our new guests that are here today, they love the building, and I think we're all going to get used to it. There's little kinks to work out, things that we still have to figure out, like bringing the flags over, bringing the name tags over, little things like that. We'll figure those out. But the culmination of coming here, I think, was really great. Like I said, we moved into the building last Thursday, and we had a team to help us get unpacked and get set up. And so Alistair, Nick, the IT team, Michelle helped a lot with that, made this move very smooth. It's been really, really helpful. We're still unpacking boxes, but it'll take a few days or a few weeks to get sorted out. Like Brian mentioned, we watch customers kind of pull up to the other building and then see how long it takes for them to make their way over here. And they don't always come to the front door, but they eventually make their way to the front door. So it's just training people. After being there for that long, it's hard for people to get used to going to somewhere new. So that part is still coming. Next steps for us as part of this overall project is to complete the design permitting for the remodel and building separation on the other building. So that is in progress. The ultimate goal is to complete a short plat on this property and create three different lots. And then we can move forward from there. So that's really quick on getting here. And if anybody else has anything to say, you guys can feel free. I do want to recognize a couple of people in the audience. So former Commissioner Al Littlefield is here. Al was a commissioner for 36 years. His term ended in December 2020. So from what he said, he hasn't traveled outside of West Mount Vernon or Mount Vernon since he retired. So this is a long trip for Al in his retirement. Since I started working here, I remember a lot about how Al loved to participate in the executive sessions. His role was to keep time. He always had the sticky note on there and he had to write down the time we started and the time we finished. And in the executive sessions, he kept everybody on task. He didn't let the conversation stray, made sure we stayed on point, filled it out. We got out of there as soon as we could. So in honor of that, we have the Littlefield room off here to the side, which is going to hold our executive sessions there. And we'll think of you every time we go in there. And I think we had an extra little Littlefield sign made up that Judy's got with her there. I'm sure you'll find a great place to put that in your house somewhere. There's one place I think that Kevin suggested you put it on, but that's up to you. So yeah, it's nice to have you guys here. Appreciate you coming out. That's about all in the building. Just a couple of quick notes. I'm going to go down to the annual conference in Ridgefield. I'm going to leave tonight for the next 3 days. So there's the Waputa conference. They're going to have some policy committee votes and I think other voting. I don't know if you're planning on zooming in or not. No, okay. I'll sit in as your alternate and I'll do the best with my voting if you trust me.
Of course.
Okay, maybe I'll text you. And then I'm going to be absent for the next meeting on May 13th, but Kevin will be here, sit in for me. And Kathy White, HR manager, is not here today, but I'll just give a very brief department update. We're currently interviewing for 2 open maintenance positions. We've got 2 vacancies right now. I think they went through the first interviews last week and they're prepared to make offers to a couple of people. Had good turnout, so that was really helpful. And Kathy and Krista will be starting on a new comp study for our non-represented employees this year. The last one we did was in 2022. We try to make a point of doing that every 3 years to keep up. And then a cycle with the represented employees on their contracts every 3 years. So that's it for my update, unless there's any questions.
No.
All right.
Thank you, George. So now we will move on to discussion, new business approval of resolution appointing Doug as a contract auditor. Who's up for that?
Do you want to talk about that, Brian? Brian gets the first 2 presentations of the year.
So as part of the PUD's governance policy, it requires the board to appoint outside auditor in this case, or somebody other than the treasurer. And so we performed another request for proposals, and Doug was the most responsive and best proposal that we received. He made it up here tonight, so he's here to answer any questions that you might have. But we do need a resolution to appoint him as the outside auditor, and then he has a contract with the public district. He provides not only financial, but a lot of contract review. And he also was instrumental in working with HR during the negotiations last year. So the contract is all done through finance under one contract, but he does have a lot of other consulting portions that he does for the PUD and other departments too. So he's here and answer any questions.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll be looking for a motion.
I motion to approve Resolution 2313-25, appointing Doug Streeter as contract auditor for Skagit PUD.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, the motion carries. Let's talk about recommendation to award the pump system replacement project. All right, Mark.
There.
First things first.
Yeah, I got to learn how it works. First, I just want to express how grateful we are to be in a new building, new facility. You really don't recognize how important or the value of having a modern, functioning, working environment is to being productive and even communicating with the public. You know, here we've got these, great monitors, the sound system. This room operates so well. And it also works well up in our offices, having meeting rooms that work so that we can interface with outside agencies and others within the community on either Zoom or Teams, and just having this a really good professional office space is really, really great. So we're here to, I guess I'm here to request the award of the W1 pump system contract to award construction. This is up at the water treatment plant. The W1 pump systems furnish water to the water treatment plant and the panorama zone. There are 3 pumps that are going to be removed. Right now, they're all hard starts, and we're going to be going to a VFD. While we were writing this memo, there has been news that we may have an additional approximately up to $73,000 coming from PSC for the energy efficiencies that come out of this. That'll be a grant provided to the PUD upon completion of the work. So we're happy about that. Mark Sumraw did a great job going after that money, and yeah, seeing that being realized. Overall, the term of the contract is fairly long. I think it's almost a year. That's to provide for the sequencing of the pump installation and allow procurement of the pipes, of the pumps. These are all, manufactured. They're not off the shelf items. So we're looking for award.
Just a quick question in regards to the scope of the contract. Does
Mhm.
it also include integration through SCADA
Yeah,
and
so-
VFD programming?
Yep. So we, in advance of advertising for the project, we got a scope and a fee from our sole source provider for the SCADA integration and the materials, hardware. I think it was 260,000, something like that. But we published that number. We didn't give the details to it, but we put a hard number in the bid proposal page. So this 645,000 includes that in that amount. Yeah. And then we have, I think, 101,000 of committed funds. I think 80 of that is RH2's contract for the construction services, construction inspection services.
Well, I would make a motion to authorize the general manager to enter into a contract with Award Construction in the amount of $645,333.78.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. All right, thank you, Mark. We've got some Judy Reservoir data on there. Commissioner comments?
Well, I would just say it's very nice to be in the new room.
Absolutely.
I second that.
Yeah, and how?
Oh.
That is,
I also want to say that just a lot of public appreciation for work being done in the Ferry Street Township area. There's a lot of, as a very highly trafficked location, and just noting that our crews are doing a really great job. And are very pleasant. So I've been hearing things from neighbors and appreciate seeing our crews out there doing pipe replacement work instead of contractors, which is kind of fun to see. So.
excellent. All right, so we will now adjourn to an executive session to consider the minimum price at which real estate will be offered per RCW 4230-110-1C and approximately
Reconvene at 5:10.
reconvene at 5:10.